right now.
So can we start the session, sir?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the third day of IPHACon 2021, jointly organized by JIPMER Puducherry and IPHA Puducherry. Myself, I am Dr. Vignesh, Senior Resident in the department. I welcome you all to the joint World NCD Federation and IPHACon 2021 Grant Award session. I would like to welcome our chairpersons, Dr. Thakur sir, Professor Sanjay Rai sir, Professor K.R. Tankapan sir, and Professor Samir Malhotra sir, and Dr. Sudhir Gupta sir. Dr. J.S. Thakur sir is currently Professor in the Department of Community Medicine and School of Public Health, PGMR Chandigarh, and he is President of World NCD Federation. He is an expert member in the Mission Steering Group of NHM, Chair of the World NCD Congress, and co-chair of the Second World NCD Congress. He has provided consultancy at international level to many developing countries, and he is a member of India Expert Group on COVID-19 of the Ministry, and also team leader for states. He is chairman of the COVID-19 Prevention and IEC Committee in PGMR Chandigarh. Welcome, sir. Dr. Sanjay K. Rai sir is currently professor in the Center for Community Medicine, AIIMS, New Delhi, and he is president of Indian Public Health Association. He is a member of many technical and expert groups constituted by the Government of India and Ministry, ICMR, and INCLEN. He has contributed to many national health programs, including NACO, NRHM, RNTCP, Vector Control Program, and Urban Health Mission. He has received many awards and honors, including JE Park Memorial Oration Award, and he has been conferred a fellowship of IPHA. Welcome, sir. Next, I welcome Dr. Sudhir Gupta, sir. He is currently technical in charge NCD division in the Directorate General Health Services under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. He has about 40 years of experience, including 22 years in the ministry. He is a WHO Fellow in Health Promotion, Fellow of IMA Academy of Medical Specialties, Fellow of Palliative Care at Wisconsin University, USA. He is Associate Editor of the book 50 Years of Cancer Control in India, and he gives talks in television regarding NCD and cancer. Welcome, sir. Next, I welcome Dr. K.R. Tankapan, sir. He is a Dean in the School of Medicine and Public Health, Professor, Department of Public Health and Community Medicine, Central University of Kerala at Kasaragod. His experiences are, he is a public health physician trained in India and Harvard School of Public Health with interest in NCD diseases and risk factors for NCDs. He is head of Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute of Medical Sciences and Technology, Trivandrum, for about 20 years. He has more than 250 publications, including publications in leading international journals. Welcome, sir. Finally, I invite Dr. Samir Malhotra, sir. He is currently Professor and Head, Department of Pharmacology in PGMR Chandigarh. He is member of various professional organizations, executive member of World NCD Federation, coordinator, Center of Excellence for Evidence-Based Research in NCD in low middle income countries. He is involved in regular conduct of workshops in clinical pharmacologies, good clinical practice, and clinical research and bioethics. He is convener of Institute Ethics Committee in Chandigarh and Punjab University, and has more than 150 publications. Welcome, sir. So this session will have 6 presentations, 3 presentations under the systematic review and the meta-analysis proposals, and 3 under the implementation research proposals. So each presentation will be for 5 minutes, and at the end of all the 6 presentations, there will be a review and discussion session for 30 minutes. And I hereby hand over the session to the chairperson.
So thank you, Vignesh, for introduction of the co-chair of this meeting on behalf of this, joint the World Sleep Federation IPHA concession. I take this opportunity to welcome all the co-chairs, Professor Sanjay Rai, Dr. Sudhir Gupta, Professor Thankampan, and Professor Samir Malhotra. They have already been introduced. So we are going to have 6 presentations, and for the interest of time, every presenter is given 5 minutes of presentation. We have already your detailed proposal with us. So time is very important factor. So you are being evaluated by all the 5 experts and the chair of this meeting, and the score will be aggregated, and we will be selecting, one award under the systematic review and meta-analysis and one award under implementation research in NCD. So without wasting much time, and I think our chair, each chair can invite at least one person. So that is how we will go. So let me invite the first speaker, Dr. Shilpa Ravi. She's Research Monitoring, Learning and Evaluation, Pyramid Swasthya Institute. And so please, Shilpa, go ahead with your presentations.
Yeah. So will the presentation be shared, or do you need me to share the presentation?
They are sharing your presentation. I think it should be here.
Yeah.
Sir, hello.
Yes.
So the presenters shall be sharing from their end, so that there will be no interruption in the during changing their slides. Sir.
Okay, so Shilpa, you can share from your side.
Yes.
And all the presenters should be ready with their presentation.
Just a sec. Sir, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, thank you. So good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Shilpa, and I lead the Research Monitoring, Learning and Evaluation wing of Pyramid Swasthya, and I'll be presenting my proposal. Sorry?
Please make it to slideshow.
Yeah, it is on slideshow. Can you not see it? Okay. Is it on slideshow now, sir?
No.
But
go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
go.
All right. I think there's some problem. Okay, so I would be presenting my proposal on a systematic review on the impact of community-based lifestyle interventions on glycemic control among people with type 2 diabetes mellitus in India. So this will be the outline of the presentation. So we know that type 2 diabetes mellitus is a major cause of morbidity, premature mortality, and disability in India and globally. Lifestyle modification, which is a major component of self-care, plays an important role in control of blood sugars. Good glycemic control has a bearing on the quality of life of patients. It delays complications. It reduces the healthcare costs, co-infection, and comorbidities. And in resource-limited settings, reliance on lifestyle modifications to improve outcomes has been proven to be a cost-effective strategy. Therefore, this review aims at consolidating findings from different community-based lifestyle intervention programs in India with the aim of generating high-quality evidence for clinical care providers, organizations working in the field of public health and policymakers, which will help in facilitating sustainable changes in lifestyle in populations through the modes of community empowerment. So the Pico statement for this review would be P would be people living with type 2 diabetes. The intervention would be any community-based lifestyle intervention. The C comparison would be looking at baseline glycemic status either prior to the intervention or studies which have not would have patients not subjected to the intervention. There will be two types of outcomes: the primary outcome, which will look at glycemic control, and secondary outcomes, which would look at various other
Your
factors
slides
like.
are not moving. Your slides are not moving.
Okay, maybe I'll just. Is it
Yeah,
now better?
yeah.
Okay, so the outcomes would be: primary outcome would be glycemic control. The secondary outcomes would be including various different aspects like weight, BMI, waist circumference, overall well-being, reduction in blood pressure, tobacco and alcohol consumption, and increased knowledge and practice. Um, what is the inclusion and exclusion criteria which we have thought of? We would look at studies which are focusing exclusively on community-based lifestyle interventions on people with type 2 diabetes or metabolic syndrome, and also including those in the pre-diabetic stage. Studies which are exclusively conducted in India, and studies which have been published or unpublished from 2015 till 2020. The exclusion criteria would be: any facility or hospital based lifestyle intervention studies will not be included. Any pharmacological study which looks at drug interventions to improve glycemic control would not be included. And gestational diabetes would also be excluded from the study. So what is the different bias assessment which we are thinking of? We would be following the standard Cochrane risk of bias assessment to look at the different types of bias in RCTs. For non-RCTs, we would be using the Robbins I tool. The source of funding for all the studies would be recorded, and we have decided on the following criteria and scoring system, which would look at different methods like studies which meet the inclusion criteria, the different types of research studies with adequate sample size, sampling, and studies with a minimized risk of bias. All these would be given a scoring system, and based on that the studies would be captured. We have a big team of people, of which critical appraisal would be conducted by two reviewers independently of each other. And if there is any particular discrepancy, we would involve a third reviewer who would do the consensus. So what is the translational value of conducting a systematic review like this? So it has various implications. One is on the clinical care. So when there are specific interventions which are available for lifestyle modification, it would enable the doctor, other healthcare providers in giving evidence-based, context-specific information on lifestyle management. This would also help in reducing out-of-pocket expenditure and reducing the incidence of complications. With regards to implication in a national health program, this kind of a review would help in designing a suitable outcome based lifestyle modification package, and under the wellness component in any health and wellness center which is being developed all across India, this would help. We would also shift our focus from a conventional IEC to an SBCC, or a social behavior change communication, and this would also help us to partner effectively with other cross-cutting sectors like Department of Youth, Sports, Youth Affairs and Sports, Panchayat Raj institutions, local governance, and Food and Drug Administration, so that tailor-made solutions which are specific to that particular geography can be implemented. Then this would also have implications on any other developmental sector organizations and NGOs, where they would be able to develop and pilot specific community-based models for delivering these kind of interventions at the ground level. Local governments could be supported, and this would ensure sustainability. And lastly, we hope that a review like this, which would ultimately lead to more specific sustainable interventions, would help translating these findings to a particular action at different levels of the targets, which is reducing your premature mortality, morbidity, and disability, achieving the targets for global NCD, and the Sustainable Development Goal on health and well-being. The novelty for the study, currently, based on our literature review, we have noticed very, very limited systematic reviews in low and middle
Shilpa, you
medical
should
countries.
try to conclude now. Your time is
Yes.
over. Yes.
So this research will address a critical knowledge gap in the existing body of NCD literature. This slide looks at specific deliverables and timelines, and the feasibility and the budget. We have a study team which comprises of researchers and public health experts in the field of NCD. Piramal Swasthya leads the NCD technical support unit in Maharashtra along with the state NCD cell, which is a team of 5 people who are extremely well knowledge with regards to NCD, and hence we feel that we would be able to use this knowledge in doing a good quality systematic review. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Shilpa, and we can take one or two quick questions if somebody want to ask the questions.
What is your definition of
community-based intervention.
So, sir, community-based intervention specifically looks at any intervention which focuses on diet, physical activity, changes in habits in the form of tobacco, alcohol consumption in either a rural, urban, or a tribal setting. It would not be any facility. So we are not looking at any hospital or facility level interventions. It will be strictly interventions which are located within a particular community.
You mentioned you included unpublished articles. So now, what was the criteria for including unpublished article? How did you select them?
So what we would like to do is we would like, so we have one of our co-investigators is Dr. Sudhir, who's from Father Muller Medical College. So we would be, he would be helping us to get out studies from the university websites, synopsis or thesis done by students in these particular areas. And we are also going to be looking at specific areas where we can get access to a postgraduate student's thesis so that we could use these also, even if they're not published, because they are also a good value add to a review.
So thank you very much. I'll request our co-chair and the experts to kindly evaluate this presentation as per the sheet provided to you. Let us go to the next presentation by Dr. Venmati, Assistant Professor, Department of Community Medicine, ESI Medical College, PGI MSR, Chennai.
Good morning, sir. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Okay, good morning, all the chairpersons, and good morning, sir. I'm Dr. Venmati. I'll be presenting regarding our study. Let me share my screen first. I hope my screen is visible, sir.
No, please.
Is it visible now, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. So in this session, I would be presenting our study topic on comparison of the effectiveness of different non-pharmacological interventions for tobacco cessation in India, a systematic review and network meta-analysis. So the presenting actually the principal investigator is Dr. Yuvraj Krishnamurthy, sir. He is an assistant professor in our department. And myself, Dr. Venmati, I'm also an assistant professor in Department of Community Medicine, ESI Medical College in KK Nagar, Chennai. So the outline of my presentation will be about rational, Pico statement, inclusion and exclusion criteria, followed by the translational value, novelty, and the timeline and the feasibility and budget. So the rationale is large-scale intervention related to taxation policy changes have already been extensively studied worldwide and also in Indian-based studies. However, monitoring and evaluation of this particular tobacco cessation intervention can be implemented at the healthcare setting also, but that has not been done in the routine. So our analysis will identify the type of non-pharmacological interventions with high tobacco abstinence and inform policymakers and clinicians regarding the type of intervention that should be offered across all the level of healthcare delivery system. So hence we will be performing this review and network meta-analysis to identify the best set of non-pharmacological intervention for tobacco cessation in India. So Pico statement, our intervention is all the non-pharmacological intervention for achieving tobacco control. And the outcome we are going to see is quit rate or any reduction in the frequency of use of the tobaccos. So particularly the participants we are focusing on are tobacco users. So our inclusion criteria based on the Pico and study design format. Participants will be adult tobacco users in India, and it is irrespective of whether it is smoke or smokeless form of tobacco use, gender, study settings, or comorbidities. And intervention is individual behavioral counseling, group behavioral therapy, self-help intervention, telephonic counseling, web-based intervention, and financial incentives, any form. And comparison is studies comparing these interventions with each other, or standard or usual care or no intervention will be included. Then outcome is tobacco abstinence rate or quit rate or any reduction in the frequency of tobacco consumption. And the study design we are going to apply is parallel arm, individual or cluster randomized control trials. So these studies will be included in this. So the risk of bias assessment, we are going to use Cochrane risk of bias tool for randomized control trials. And the domains we are going to assess, take into account 5 domains. So the domain 1 is bias risk arising from the process of randomization. And domain 2, bias risk due to deviation from the intended intervention. And domain 3, bias risk arising due to missing data on outcomes. And domain 4, bias risk in the measurement of outcome. And domain 5, bias risk in the selection of reported result. So based on the rating obtained from these domains, each study will be classified as having low will be classified as low risk, high bias, and some concern on the quality of evidence which we are finding. So the translation value of our study is to achieve the tobacco endgame strategy in India. And there is a relatively need for some systematic inputs because we have several interventions, and which intervention, particularly the non-pharmacological intervention, could be applied on all levels of healthcare will be suggested. And this network meta-analysis will identify the best set of non-pharmacological intervention that can be translated into a policy making and implementation under the National Tobacco Control Program. And this can be implemented at all levels of public healthcare delivery system and can be recommended even to private healthcare facilities. So the novelty is still now all the systematic reviews worldwide and Indian has been based on a pairwise meta-analysis comparing any one intervention with another or any usual care. But this, to our best knowledge, this will be the first systematic effort to make made in India to identify the best set of non-pharmacological intervention for tobacco cessation. And we'll be using a robust analysis strategy to achieve this objective. So we'll rank the interventions and with the under the cumulative ranking curve, and we'll recommend the best intervention for a large-scale implementation in healthcare settings throughout the country. So this would be the timeline with regards to the our study. So starting from the orienting the review with the literature till the dissemination. So there will be a period of 6 months involved. And this is the feasibility and budget. So we are going to incur, and that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Venmati, and you can take 1 or 2 questions.
Have you done network meta-analysis in the past, or someone in your team can do network?
Sorry, sir, I couldn't hear you. 1 second.
Have you yourself done network meta-analysis in the past, or there is someone in your team to do it?
I have experts in my team, sir. I have Dr. Yuvraj, sir,
okay,
and Dr.
then it's
Satish
great.
Sagar,
Then
sir,
it's very fine. Okay,
along with
that's
me.
all.
I've
That's all.
done. I have worked in many projects in this field.
That's all.
So
That's all. Single. The answer was single word. Yes or no. That's all.
Yes, sir.
What is the quit rate? No. What is the golden standard for quit rate? How will you use? 1 year or 6 months? What is your criteria for quit rate?
I am sorry, sir. Your voice is not. It's cutting off, sir.
What is your quit rate definition? What period? 1 year, 6 months, 3 months? What kind of study?
6 months, sir.
No, the gold standard is 1 year.
Okay,
what about validation by any? The self-report is a bias, as you said. But is there any validation like cotinine levels? Will
Okay,
you
sir.
include those? Or think about this. I think it's very important because
Yes,
self-reporting
sir.
bias is always.
Yes, sir. I will discuss it with the investigators and I will let them know, sir.
Okay.
I'll request Professor Sanjay Rai to invite the next speaker.
Thank you very much. The next speaker under this domain systematic review and meta-analysis proposal is Dr. Saritha Susan. She is associate professor and deputy convener Pushpagari Institute of Medical Science and Research Center, Center for Evidence-Based Practice. The title is Effect of Yoga on Cognitive Ability and Neuropsychiatric Symptoms in Mild Cognitive Impairment and Dementia, a systematic review proposal. So may I invite Dr. Saritha, please? Please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, sir. May I share the slide?
Sure.
Respected chairs and dear participants, I'm Dr. Saritha from Pushpagari Institute of Medical Sciences, and my title of my proposal is Effect of Yoga on Cognitive Ability and Neuropsychiatric Symptoms in Mild Cognitive Impairment or Dementia, a systematic review protocol. So in the context of population aging, cognitive decline and dementia has a major significant impact in both in developing as well as developed countries. And a recent meta-analysis has reported high prevalence of dementia of 20 per 1,000 population in India. Dementia is associated with several negative health impacts such as functional disability, poor quality of life, burden on caregivers, family, and healthcare system. So it is imperative to have effective interventions, feasible and low cost or cost-effective interventions to tackle this problem. Hence, we propose to synthesize evidence to know the effect of yoga practice on cognitive ability and neuropsychiatric symptoms in older adults with mild cognitive impairment or dementia, as well as the caregiver burden. Moving on to the Pico Statement, we will take up reviews where the participants are older adults above 60 years with mild cognitive impairment or dementia with a physician diagnosed report who are living in the community or in the institution. And we'll cover interventions such as complex yoga interventions, exercise-based yoga interventions, or yoga interventions consisting of one of the following, that is breath control, meditation, lifestyle advice without an exercise component. And we look at the effect of these interventions on outcomes such as cognitive ability and neuropsychiatric symptoms, as well as caregiver burden. And the tools for these symptoms and outcome measures have been identified. And we'll see whether the effect on these primary outcomes when compared to no intervention, standard care, or other interventions. So the inclusion and exclusion criteria is based on the Pico Statement, and we in the review we include randomized controlled trials as well as quasi-experimental studies. And to assess the risk of bias, the methodological quality will be assessed by 2 independent reviewers using the Joanna Briggs Institute's critical appraisal instrument, 2 separate tools for experimental and quasi-experimental studies. And the translational value of this particular review is any systematic review or quality systematic review is essential to formulate guidelines as well as policies. So if this review is found to be useful, it demonstrates good evidence, yoga can be incorporated into the current management regime and current wellness programs. Because yoga is a non-pharmacological, culturally acceptable and cost-effective method. And it has beneficial effects on cognitive functioning, especially on attention and verbal memory. And the novelty of this review is yoga is so well associated with the Indian culture and is practiced extensively in many developing countries such as India. However, we don't have any guidelines or evidence from systematic review. especially in the most vulnerable group, that is people with cognitive impairment and dementia. However, recently a systematic review was published that the outcome measure was only on cognitive decline, but it had several limitations, such as the risk of bias assessment tool was common for both RCTs and quasi-experimental. Moreover, certainty of findings was not assessed in that review. So we already have a review team and we have prepared the protocol, and we aim to finish the review and prepare the protocol by the end of June 2022. Regarding the feasibility and the budget, and among the 6 members in the review team, 4 are trained in JBI methods for conducting a systematic review, and one of the member is currently undergoing training of trainers, and 1 team member is certified in yoga and dementia, and 1 person has a master's in dementia. And we all are supported by our institution for the time and effort. And regarding the budget, it amounts to rupees 25,000, which covers both recurring and non-recurring expenses. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarita. Any question?
On this topic, aren't already half a dozen at least reviews available in the last few years only?
So we checked for the reviews available, and there were 2 reviews. One was only on a cognitive decline, and that had several limitations. We are looking at neuropsychiatric symptoms as well. And the next review was published in 2019. It also had several limitations, and they hadn't done a grade pro approach to assess the certainty of findings.
Any other question? Then we may move to next presentation.
Thank you, sir.
May I request Dr. Sudhir Gupta to invite the next presenter?
My apologies, I joined late and I went for my vaccination, so I have not even seen the papers. So know the name right now, so I request you back to do the same.
Maybe Dr. Thankamban can invite the next speaker on behalf.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I don't have the details. Maybe Dr. Thakur, please do.
Okay, okay. So I now invite Dr. V. Thirumal Rao, Assistant Professor, Department of Community Medicine, Government Medical College in Prakasam District, Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Thirumal, please.
You are muted. Dr. Rao, you are muted.
Unmute yourself.
Good morning, sir. Am I audible right now?
Yes. Yes.
Respected all professors, very good morning to all of you. I am presenting a research proposal for evaluation of implementing National Health Program in prevention, diagnosis, management of diabetes mellitus in rural and urban areas of Prakasam district, Andhra Pradesh. The people suffering with a metabolic syndrome are high risk of developing diabetes mellitus and cardiovascular diseases in our country. If you observe in urban areas, 26% with more than 16 years of age group are having a high blood sugar glucose level. And there are several people are developing a long-term complication of the diabetes, and there is a need to early diagnosis and proper treatment. So World Economic Forum Diabetes clearly told that India is suffering with a silent epidemic. We observed that there are so many diabetic patients died because of COVID-19. In our Prakasam district, we have a almost 304 health and wellness centers, and in sub-centers also we have a health and wellness centers. The BSc nursing graduate MLHPs, they are providing services at in health and wellness centers. The objectives of studies are to evaluate the implementation of national health programs in prevention of diabetes mellitus in rural and urban areas, to assess indicators of national health program in diagnosis and management of diabetes mellitus in NCD clinics and health and wellness centers, to assess the input, process, and output indicators to link use of healthcare services. The study will be conducted in community health centers and health and wellness centers in 4 urban and 4 rural mandals of Tarkowski district from 1st October to 31st March 2022. We have a trained medical officers and also house surgeons posted. With their help, we are going to conduct a study. The first level of assessment will be at the LCD clinic and hospital level. So to know about the functions regarding the treatment and management, at the second level, we are going to assess the screening and early identification of diabetes mellitus in health and wellness centers, which are established at the sub-center level. Third level will be a community survey. We conducted in such volumes. Actually, Andhra Pradesh is the only state where we have a good number of such volumes. So we conduct 5 such volumes in each mandal, and so that 20 such volumes will be survey will be conducted. So regarding health awareness activities and healthcare utilization. So what indicators actually we do? So at the screening level, patient with diabetes registered, and percentage of patients examined for clinical examination, anthropometric measurements, and laboratory tests. And also regarding prescriptions, percentage of uncomplicated patients prescribed treatment as per guidelines, and also percentage of complicated patients prescribed treatment as per the guidelines for diabetes, percentage of patients prescribed preventive treatment as per the guidelines of diabetes. And regarding follow-ups also, whether patients are adhered to follow-up or not, and also percentage of the patient examined in follow-up visits. And regarding staff also, how many really got trained, and these NCD clinics really having logistics or not. In the house-to-house survey, we are going to assess percentage of people really aware about health awareness clinic, percentage of utilizing healthcare services in these clinics, percentage of people practicing risk reduction activities, and percentage of volunteer system really knowledge about this apps. What is the novelty in this study is we are going to identify field-based realities and hurdles facing by our healthcare workers and volunteers actually, and we are going to evaluate adherence of the diabetics to these guidelines. Our existing NCD apps, volunteers are doing and entering about the details. Are they really entering in systematic way or not? That we are going to ask. And also, existing healthcare program really reduce the diabetes burden in our area. And the milestones are actually in coming days. After pre-testing a questionnaire, we are going to conduct the interview of people over a period of 4 months. So from October to almost February, data entry will be done simultaneously. Data analysis will be completed by 20th of the March. Write-up and submission of report will be done by 31st March 2022. So what is the feasibility is actually we have a good number of house surgeons, so that on rotation basis they will come for the posting for 2 months, so that over a period of 6 months we are going to train them and take help of them for conduction of this study. We also involve our faculty members to validate whatever the information they are going to gather. We are going to validate, and including both recurring cost and non-recurring cost. It's all within the budget limit. It's a 24,937 rupees. We are going to this cost will be occur. So good advantage is that already we have a lot of coordination with our district officials. District medical officer is supportive over here. We will take a permission from them, and also we submit this proposal to our research ethical committee for approval, and we will explain the study to our all respondents at NCD clinic level, at the health wellness center level, at the household level also. So detail we are going to explain about the purpose of the study. Informed consent will be taken, and whatever the information we are going to gather, that the confidentiality will be maintained and stored at security place, and within the timeline we are going to submit the report to NCD forum. And thank you all.
So thank you, Dr. Thirumal. We can take one or two quick questions.
Dr. Rao, I am a little uncertain about your complicated patient, uncomplicated, and preventive treatment in the prescription part. And second is, it's type 1 diabetics or type 2 or both?
Sir, uncomplicated means those are suffering with the diabetes without any complications. We are going to assist the prescription. So the treatment is given as per the guidelines. Regarding complicated means those who develop the complications because of diabetes, or those the prescription is follow the guidelines or not. That also we are going to assess in separate way, so that we can come to conclusion that prescriptions are written by the doctors in a proper way or not. And regarding type 1 and type 2 diabetes, we are going to take type 2 diabetes. The reason being prevalence of type 2 diabetes is very common, and complications are involved in both type 2 and type 1, but the high prevalent is type 2, so that we are going to take type 2 diabetes, sir.
One question from me. One is on adherence. How are you going to measure adherence? Are you going to use a scale? Probably it is better to use some scale. The second point is, I think control rates of diabetes is very important. You have not mentioned anything about control rates.
So adherence, we are going to use the 5-point score, sir. So actually whether they are following the treatment in proper way or not, that we are going to applying a scale, sir. Sir, sorry, sir. Last question, sir.
Control rates. Control rates of diabetes. You haven't heard of control? How many people, how many patients are controlled? Less than 126 milligram per deciliter.
Yes, sir.
You can even ask.
So we take, sir. We take. So
Yeah.
one is.
So
one is to 3 ratios.
Yeah, Dr. Thirumal, this question is very important, and you can have the baseline data from the district where what are the existing control rates, which are very low in our country, and in fact one of the outcome of this implementation research should be that it should lead to some improvement in the control rates among the patients, right? And we should also try to find out that what are the barriers to it.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Sure, sir. We will do the baseline data, sir, in this proposal, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. And may I request now Dr. Samir Malhotra to invite the next speaker?
Okay, the next speaker is Dr. Vijayananda. The topic is preparedness of health and wellness centers for health promotion activities related to prevention and control of NCDs, a capacity evaluation study. Dr. Vijaya, please.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Rao, kindly remove your slides from the main screen. Still your slides are there.
Dr. Vijaya, please share your slides.
Is it visible,
Yeah.
sir? Good morning, good afternoon to all. I'm Dr. Vijayanathan Nayak from AIIMS Patna, and I'll be presenting our proposal, Preparedness of Health and Wellness Center for Health Promotion Activities for Prevention and Control of Non-Communicable Diseases with Capacity Evaluation Study. Rationale and objective, burden of
Dr. Vijaya, can
density.
you please be loud a bit? Yeah.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yes.
Yeah. The rationale and objective of our study, burden of NCD is increasing in rural areas because of lifestyle changes, urban penetration, cultural class, poor access to right and appropriate information on health promotion. Under leadership of our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, Ayushman Bharat was implemented. In that, health and wellness centers were established to provide comprehensive primary health care, in which one component was control of NCD. Health and wellness center, mostly these are the upgraded health sub-center or additional PSC or PSC. Asas and people involved in these PSCs, they are mostly accustomed to RCH activities. Health promotion for NCD being so this study assesses the baseline assessment, which is the first step in this objective to assess the preparedness of health and wellness centers in delivering health promotion services related to non-communicable diseases in rural blocks of Patna, Bihar, to assess the level of knowledge and skills among the village level health promotion service provider, that ASA, at health and wellness center in rural blocks of AIIMS Patna. Study design is a cross-sectional study including
So Dr. Vijaya has left the meeting. I think he has just joined again.
Shall we go to the next?
Yeah, we should move to the next.
Yeah. So
The next.
Dr. Samir, you can invite the next one.
I am a little unlucky in this regard. Maybe we can ask someone else. Nevertheless.
So Dr. Sanjay Rai is lucky. Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Sanjay, you can invite the last speakers.
Okay, so last speaker of this session under this implementation research in NCD proposal, Dr. Meera Varghese, postgraduate scholar, Department of Community Medicine, Amala Institute of Medical Science, Thrissur, Kerala. Her title of presentation is Physical Training for Improvement in Academic Performance among Adolescents in Shelter Homes, Kerala. So, Dr. Meera, please go ahead with your presentation. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Sir, am I audible? Sir?
You are audible.
Hello?
And your slides are visible also. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, you are
I
audible
myself,
and
Dr.
your slides are visible. So please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. Meera Varghese, a postgraduate scholar in Department of Community Medicine, Andhra Institute of Medical Science, Thrissur, Kerala. My proposal is on implementation researches, life skill training for improvement in academic performance among adolescents in shelter homes, Kerala. adolescence is a transition, but it is constricted due to growing demands to perform academically in order to secure stable professional goals and career opportunities. An encounter with certain unavoidable circumstances in life make children homeless and shelter home become the last resort for safety and care. Rationally is a developing country like India mainly relies on its manpower for its capital development. To create an effective and productive manpower, more emphasis must be laid on mental health from childhood till old age. Regular counseling and subject expert educational assistance will help the average performing inmates to overcome the stressful life events. My objectives are to assess whether regular good counseling services will improve the academic performance, to assess whether subject expert educational assistance will improve the academic performance, and to determine the association between counseling and improved academic performance. I'm planning to do a cross-sectional study in a shelter home in Thrissur district, Kerala. My study participants are the adolescent inmates of the shelter home, and my study period is from October 2021 to May 2022. I'm planning to do adolescents will be included in the study. Inclusion criteria for my implementation research is adolescents residing in shelter home for more than 6 months in Kerala and school-going adolescents between 10 to 19 years of age. Exclusion criteria are the mental retardation and other developmental disorders and organic illness, physically handicapped children, children in juvenile home, and also school dropouts. Plan for uptake of result in the policy or program. Mental health is very important component of growth and development of adolescents. Children in shelter home face stressful events in life, like living below poverty line, which constitute 44.7%, divorced parents, 25.2%, alcoholism in family, faced natural calamities, and been completely orphaned. This I got as per my pilot study, and these stressful events affect their academic performance. Regular counseling and subject expert educational assistance will help the eligible average performing inmates to overcome the stressful life events and improve their academic performance. Novelty of my study is the SPG India Index 2021 Code 3 and 4 reveals that Kerala tops the list of states and union territories for their aggregate performance towards SDG 2030. The study aims to prove that provide life skill training for improvement in academic performance among adolescents in shelter home. As the homeless children are unexplored vulnerable population, their mental status must be studied in order to nurture them to be a mentally healthy citizen of future India. Deliverables. The mental health issue of the adolescent vulnerable population is one of among the key objectives of the National Mental Health Policy. Life skill coaching and good academic achievements will help to deal with issues of self-esteem and anxiety among homeless children. Timeline for my studies, 8 months. I'll be submitting my protocol in October 2021. Ethical clearance will be obtained in November. Data collection and entry will start in November itself. I'll present my first interim data presentation on November 21st. Intervention, that is counseling and subject expert assistance, I will be providing in 2 months, that is December and January. Data presentation will also be in May, and final submission is by the May. Feasibility and budget. Experts of graduation or post-graduation degree will be hired for helping them in studies. My travel expense for 10 to 12 times would be rupees 3,000. Consumer that include paper, Xerox, pen, constitute rupees 4,000. Psychologist salary, she has to visit the orphanage for 15 times, and the salary would be rupees 10,000. And subject expert, she has also to visit the orphanage for 10 times, and I'll be providing her rupees 8,000. Ethical consideration and permission from the health authorities. Institutional research committee and ethical committee clearance will be obtained. Permission from higher authorities of the shelter home will be obtained. Permission for technical support from the concerned institutional authority will be obtained. Willingness to participate in the study will be obtained in the form of written consent from the participant or the guardian, whichever is possible. Confidentiality will be guaranteed and involvement will be voluntary. Data collection form will be totally anonymous and no identifying features will be incorporated. Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Hello, sir. I was.
Please go ahead.
Can I ask my question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my question is, you have an implementation research and your study design is cross-sectional. How do you assess your effect of your implementation of counseling? I think maybe a pre and post test may be better than a cross-sectional study or repeat cross-sectional, something like that. No, you understand? You are going to implement counseling, and your design is cross-sectional, one-time cross-sectional, or I think maybe it is better to do a pre and post so that you can have some effect of your intervention, see the impact of counseling on these children or academic performance. You understand? Yeah.
I'll go with pre and post studies.
Not clear.
Dr. Meera, we can't hear you.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Sir,
Now.
hello, sir. Sir.
Yes, you are audible now.
Yes, Dr. Meera, now you are audible.
Was my presentation audible, sir? I don't know. Sir,
Now you are audible. Dr.
Do I need to
Meera, now you are audible.
Okay, sir. Do I need to present it once again as it is? No, it was not audible.
Yeah, it's all right.
You go ahead and answer the question.
Connectivity issues up there, I think. Maybe we should.
Okay.
Sorry, sir, for the trouble, sir.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you can write down the answer in the chat box, right?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
maybe Dr. Samir, we can invite Dr. Vijaya if he's ready again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Because of net connectivity issues, it got disconnected in between.
Then you can resume from the last point.
Sir, now is it visible? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Yes, sir. Methods, it is a cross-sectional study, including facility assessment. It will be conducted in Filwari Sarif and Nawarpur block of Patna district, Bihar, over a period of 5 months. Study in its population and sample size significantly includes all the health and wellness centers functional. Totally, at present, 9 health and wellness centers are functional in these 2 blocks of Patna district. 10 from health and wellness will be selected conveniently. 5 adults will be selected random assessment of perception on health promotion from health and wellness centers. Study tool will on checklist which we design based on the SARA checklist and WHO strategy, and a semi-structured questionnaire will be used for assessing knowledge and skill of ASA and perception of public. Data quality will be ensured. Appropriate analysis will be done using SPSS 22, and it will be a spiderweb diagram we'll use to identify the areas that need improvement. Policy for uptake of results into policy and program. The study will provide the baseline information for the study. With the help of extramural fund will be done in the form of implementation research. Actually, because of COVID-19, ASHAs, they are not going to the field. They are mostly involved in COVID vaccination. So when we plan for implementation research further, we'll provide training to the ASHAs. 2 sessions are planned. Supportive supervision to health and wellness centers to improve the services. 2 visits will be made. We'll assess the impact that is in the future. And government of Bihar planning supportive supervision of wellness center in Bihar. So health promotion for NCTs, which being one of the important component, will be recommended to be incorporated in that. Novelty, it is a fast capacity evaluation study for health promotion services NCT provided by Health and Wellness Center in Bihar and also in India probably. We could not find any study on health promotion services but a health and wellness center be published. Knowledge and skill of village level workers, these are related to health services, will be assessed. In addition, perception of community about health promotion services.
I think you should have asked someone else to reintroduce him. Somehow, with me, he is not compatible.
That is not the issue, but he might be having some internet issues. So we have otherwise, understood what
We have listened to him. I think we can evaluate based on what he has said.
Yes, he has already shared the proposal with us. So basically,
Because I am not an expert in this area, can I ask all of you whether there was an implementation component in this presentation, because I didn't see it.
Yes, so that is also in fact a question whether there is a implementation component or not. He is basically saying that evaluation of these health and wellness centers, especially the health promotion component, right? So you really need to ask him, and also specifically, what does he really mean for health promotion? What type of setting he is going to use? So that sort of questions are there. Dr. Vijaya, have you heard the questions which are being posed?
Yes, sir. Regarding implementation, sir, actually, initially I thought of proposing one implementation research and in this line, but because our one more project is going on, from that project, what experience I got, that ASAs at present, they are mostly involved in the COVID-19 vaccination. They are not going to the field. Already I had planned a training session for ASA, but if we provide training also, since they are not going to the field, then evaluation will be difficult. That's why I restricted myself to the baseline. In future, I'll definitely, once they resume their routine activities, I'll do that part. That is in the plan, sir.
You are also mentioned health promotion. So are you using different settings, or when you are saying health promotion, what does it mean?
Sir, health promotion related to NCDs provided by this health and wellness center, sir. We are not evaluating any other setting. Only health and wellness centers, like what resources they are having, training of those personnel who are involved, IC materials, then what information, IC activities they are doing for the community.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you to all the presenters. I think they need, the compliment from all of us, because these 6 proposals have been chosen out of the total 30 proposals which we received from all over the country. So I think that is also commendable. And out of these 6 proposals, we will be selecting 2 based on the evaluation criteria. So which will be, these 2 awards will be announced tomorrow in the valedictory session. So before we close, we can have some quick comments from the esteemed judges and the experts. So maybe we can start with Dr. Sudhir Gupta. He is the team leader in the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in terms of NCD program. So his point of views are and comments are very important for all of you and all of us.
Thank you very much. I place on record my appreciation for the World NCD Federation of spearheading this movement, because NCD research has always been in the clinical areas, the specialization, the super specialization, and micro specialization. In the field of community health, even NCD, nobody was talking about in our times. When I joined 22 years back, all the NCDs was with the one officer, and the cancer was a major activity, and NCDs were only 5 to 10%. So we have come a long way, and World NCD Federation is giving a thrust on the research, and especially the implementation research, because generally in program they do evaluation and they award the contract, and then that is done and all. But when each and every one of us is aware about what is being done, what better can be done, what is the evidence, how it can be done. So in a scientific manner, I think it's a beginning for that. And these are diverse, projects, or you can say research proposals. I would not discourage by giving my critical comments to each one of them, because there are several areas, but they must be encouraged, and of course the jury will be giving their views. And this is a beginning, I will say. I expect maybe next time we can have maybe much more proposals and much better proposals. Back to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sudhir Gupta. So, Dr. Thankappan.
Dr. Thakur, Dr. Sitanshu Kar is here. He's organizing secretary of this 65th National Conference, and he wants to say something.
Okay.
So can we allow him?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please.
Sir, thank you so much, sir. And it was a great pleasure. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please.
So it's a great pleasure to see all the judges and the chairperson for this session. And we thank World NCD Federation and the relationship between World NCD Federation and IPHA, who has instituted this award for this particular session. And I also thank Dr. Sanjay Rai and Dr. Thakur for their initiative to institute the award, so that we promote research in the field of non-communicable disease and health promotion. And I think this will continue, and this will also motivate many students to put their proposals on subsequent conferences. So on behalf of the organizing team, I thank everyone, and thank you so much, sir.
Maybe Dr. Sitanshu, the last comment from Dr. Thankappan.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Thakur. I think this is a very good initiative by the World NCD Federation. And I think joining with the Ministry of Health and Indian Public Health Association, I think this is a very good initiative, so that youngsters will start doing research on NCD. My only one comment is that even though this is a small amount, you can start with the small amount, but you can also ask for funds from the state governments or other universities where there are funds available. Maybe this is a very small amount. It may not be able to do really good research, but I'm definitely sure that the government of India, government of Kerala, and state governments definitely will be able to support you. You approach the NCD, the NHM of the concerned states, definitely they will be able to support you so that you can do a better research. And this is very
yeah, thank you very much. In fact, I wanted to say this, that all these proposals are good. And we will be giving the award to 2 persons, but eventually they can approach the respective state health missions, and they can include it in the PIP. And Dr. Sudhir Gupta is sitting here, so eventually they will go there. And he is part of the team who is evaluating and awarding this. So I think we have exhausted our time. All the judges and the jury will be giving their awards and scoring which they have done, and we will be aggregating, and the 2 awards will be sharing with Dr. Sitanshu's team by evening or by early morning, so that they can be announced in the valedictory function. And on behalf of all the co-chairs, I thank you all for this important session and hand over to the organizers.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I again take this opportunity to thank the session chairs, Professor J.S. Thakur, Professor Sanjay K. Rai, Dr. Sudhir Gupta. We had a long association. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And it's so nice to see you there, sir. Dr. Thankappan, sir has taught us many things. He's also a part of our WHO STEPS NCD the monitoring thing in Tamil Nadu government. We have met there, sir, and Professor Samir Malhotra. During our PGI days, we know, sir, how keen he is in research. I see Dr. Tirumal Rao joining there, my senior sitting, and Vijay. It's lovely to have everyone present over here, and we thank again the World NCD Federation and IPHA to start this innovative initiative to promote research among the young minds, and this will be a game changer probably once we start doing these things in a national platform. This is a recognition for the young minds, and we must continue doing that. So thank you so much for doing that. It's our appreciation to the team for carrying out this session in a very effective and fruitful manner.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Professor of Community Medicine and Health Professional Education at MGMCRI and at AIMST University of Malaysia and Jipmar Puducherry. He's professor since 1994. He was a dean in the academic AIMST Institute, and he was a vice principal of MGMCRI and here in information technology applications. So, sir, I remember sir's keen interest in technology and the way he used to encourage all the youngsters working under him to excel in technology and to innovate and try new things. Sir has got a UK government fellowship in statistics and health, and he is trained in WHO qualitative research methods. He is a principal investigator for Ford Foundation and many WHO projects. Sir has more than 50 publications. It's actually an underestimate, and one book and 6 chapters chapters under his name. And he has 7 copyrights, and it's an inspiration for all people. Now I take privilege to introduce Professor Pankaj Raghav, who is the head of Department of Community Medicine and Family Medicine at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Jodhpur. Madam has 25 years of teaching and research experience. She is a principal investigator of many intramural and extramural projects. Her current research in vector-borne disease control, in community behavior, in malaria prevention and control is on the go. And I know Madam as a assistant professor, and still she remembers me. As soon as we called, she remembered me and was connecting to me with well. And her energy is really infectious, and she motivates all her juniors to excel in their area of expertise. And Madam has got a gold medal from the university exam during the PG examination. She's a IPHA president. She has received IPHA President Appreciation Award during the conference of IPHA in 2017. She's IPHA Fellowship Award and a FAMA Fellowship. She has written chapters on occupational health in IAPSM textbook on preventive medicine. She has more than 60 papers in national and international journals. Over to you, the chairpersons. Welcoming everybody.
Thank you, Mahalakshmi. Can we have speakers say yes?
Yes, I'll go ahead. Thank you. First of all, I need to thank the IPHA Pondicherry chapter, JIPMA, Dr. Gautam Roy, and Dr. Sitanshu Kar for inviting me to be a chairperson along with Dr. Pankaja. And it's really a pleasure that I am chairing a session for Vector Control Research Center. Sabes, and I'm still continuing to work with him. It's been an immense pleasure working with this institute. I have not met Dr. Ashwini Kumar earlier, but I'm sure it'll be a pleasure interacting with him. So welcome to Dr. Ashwini Kumar and Dr. Sabesan. And it's indeed my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ashwini Kumar, who is the Director, ICMR Vector Control Research Center, Puducherry. And he's been in this field of vector control for over 34 years. And he's been on the national and has several national and international awards, to be specific about 14. And is a fellow of the Punjab Sciences Academy, expert member for WHO. Of course, I think many of the faculty of or scientists of Vector Control Research Center are on WHO expert committees, and also for Southeast Asia Regional Office. He has more than 134 publications, including many in Lancet, Genome Research, very leading high cited journals, highly cited journals, and including on the WHO available in 6 languages, and he has edited 2 books. So that's Dr. Ashwini Kumar for you. And before that, I just wanted to introduce that when we were medical students, we used to study as tropical diseases. And when we consider that particular chapter, both not only in Harrison and Davidson, and also in the microbiology textbooks as not important. And just before the session, I was wondering what is the status of these diseases, and found that now they are labeled as by CDC and by WHO as what are called neglected tropical diseases. So now to the tropical disease, we have added one neglected, and of which there are many vector-borne, including dengue and filariasis, of which we will be listening to shortly by Dr. Sabesan. I only hope, but it's thanks to VCRC, Vector Control Research Center, Pondicherry, and of course, Malaria Center in Delhi, wherein these vector-borne disease are still continuing to be in focus. In fact, there's 15 diseases listed as those diseases are many of them are vector-borne, and institutes like VCRC are the ones who keep the flags flying high, or keep them in focus, and ensure that in another 10 years they do not become forgotten tropical diseases. I hope we can forget them once they have conquered it, but not when the prevalence or problem continues to be there, and then we forget about them.
I think there's an internet issue with sir.
I think sir has introduced the topic and the speaker, so we can start the session. Over to you, sir. Professor Ashwini Kumar, sir.
Thank you, Professor Narayan and Professor Pankaja Raghav. At the outset, it is a great privilege to be, addressing the IPHA Con to 2021. And I'm very, very grateful to Professor Siddhanshu Kar and Professor Gautam Roy. And because this is a great opportunity, which we value a lot. And what we will do in these two sessions that we have, for VCRC, starting with me and followed by Professor Sabison, if we know the exact time that is allotted to us, then we can restrict ourselves strictly to that time frame. Do you have something in mind? Some time? How much is the time allotted to us?
So
Chairperson,
total
sir?
time of the session is 1 hour, right, Mahalakshmi? So
Yes.
for each speaker, it will be 25 minutes, right, sir?
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Fine. Thank you so much. Let me share my slides with you, and then we can continue with the discussion. Just a moment, please. Can you see my slides, please? My slide?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay, good. Go to the next one. I will move it. Well, this is the Vector Control Research Center campus, which is green campus because it has been recently awarded as a green campus by the Union HRD Ministry. And this was established in 1975 in Puducherry. And we are now 46 years here. And a lot of work has been carried out on vector-borne diseases. Some are path-breaking technologies and the projects that have gone into the policy in framing national policy. And of course, this center has become internationally acclaimed because it is a WHO collaborating center on lymphatic filariasis. And Union Health Ministry recognizes this center as the center of excellence for training in medical entomology. This center has several units and 3 field stations. The units include vector biology and control, microbiology and molecular biology, epidemiology, biostatistics and operational research, clinical epidemiology and chemotherapy, omics division, innovation and product development, One Health, and molecular epidemiology. These units we have added this year recently. And of course, we have Human Resource Development Center in our institute. And we have 3 field stations, one Koraput field station in Odisha, Madurai field station in Tamil Nadu, which was the erstwhile Center for Medical Research in Medical Entomology, which has been merged with our center in 2017. And we have a Kottayam field station. And our presence is quite strong in the southern India, although we have taken studies all over the country, being a national institute. This is our new website. Those who are interested in knowing more about us, then they can visit this site. This is www.icmr.vcrc.gov.in. If you type VCRC in Google, you will get to our website, and you will know about us, about our manpower, and what kind of facilities, publications, etc., etc. Let me get down to different kind of researches that are going on in our center, just to give you a flavor of what we are doing. This is one of our units, which actually research units, which uses remote sensing and GIS-based technologies to predict or to create maps, spatial maps for various vector-borne diseases. Some of the examples are here. For example, this is a spatiotemporal map for lymphatic filariasis, which has been used by the National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program. We have also created risk map for lymphatic filariasis, and we have validated also. In the next slide I'll show you. And we created the map of Anopheles culicefaces, which is the primary vector of malaria in rural India. It's a resistance map based on the studies that have been carried out by VCRC and other institutions in the country as to the areas where there is triple resistance, where there is a susceptible double resistance or single resistance. And we also create maps for almost you can say instant maps, which we help provide to the Pondicherry government. This is a Pondicherry map of dengue of 2020 here, which shows the spots where each spot indicates one case of dengue. So you can see that this shows the clustering. Such maps are very handy for the program to take action in those geographical areas. And similarly, dengue risk map for Tamil Nadu has been created, and also for programmatic support of the places where this is a stratified map of MF prevalence in Bihar, which shows that in green areas, MF prevalence is less than 1, and in red it is more. So this kind of stratification is done by this division. And these map, for example, we created a germ model several years ago, which has been also published. This was done by Dr. Sabesan as well as Dr. Raju, who are present here. And this germ model geo-environmental risk map, which was created for LF, shows that, based on an index, that country was divided into 4 zones: green, yellow, orange, and red, which shows the relative endemicity of the disease. And when the ground truth was done, most of the areas which were shown green, where there is no risk, turned out to be negative. And with low also is, which yellow areas also showed that most of the areas were negative, and the medium areas were actually showing medium, and high areas indeed showed high. So there was a very good correlation between this map and the ground picture when the ground validation was done. So such maps become very handy in informing the policy and the program. Similarly, the maps have been created for dengue for Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and also for India. Of course, this is a very dynamic process as the disease keeps changing from year to year, but this does show the receptivity and vulnerability of areas where the program should focus. This is another study on LF, which has been done. You may be knowing that, initially in the Mass Drug Administration, DEC, diethylcarbamazine, was the single drug which was given annually once on 11th of November every year as one Mass Drug Administration sort of to remove MF, circulating MF. And so later on, the albendazole was added because that would help also in the helminth infection. And now the third drug, ivermectin, has been added to fast track or accelerate the lymphatic filariasis elimination as per WHO policy, because India should get away with lymphatic filariasis by 2030. So when and our institute conducted studies in Yadgir and compared the adverse events after introducing the IDA, which is shown here with the blue bars, and the red one, with 2-drug DA, and there was marginal increase in the adverse events, but there were no severe events that are shown here with both the therapies. But there was good acceptability, almost the same acceptability statistically. And but the effectiveness, if you see, compare, the DA pre and post, if you see the MF prevalence rate here, that was much better in case of IDA, triple drug therapy. There was a steep reduction in MF prevalence. So which means that the IDA would indeed accelerate elimination of lymphatic filiasis. And we are also engaged, some of our scientists, I would be happy to name them, Dr. Subramaniam, Dr. Srividya. They are involved in modeling of VL as well as LF. So they have done modeling for visceral leishmaniasis in Bihar and Jharkhand, taking all the 502 endemic blocks. And the period they have taken for modeling January to 2013 to 2018, and then they tested the model in 2019 and 2020, and also made predictions for 2021. And what they have done is they've taken 5 environmental covariates to use in the modeling approach, and they found that the 3 bioclimatic variables work very well when they compare prediction with the observed values predicted as well as the observed values. And these are bio-1 mean temperature, the isothermality, as well as the precipitation. And then also, of course, the population density was also factored into these models. And these are the results that, as you can see, they have computed 2023 sets of data sets, and they then arrive at a space and time model which fits very well. And you can see here the predicted as well as the observed values go hand in hand. But when it comes to 2019-20 and forecasting for 2020, there is a wide deviation. And this data is only last week's data, and they're looking into as to why the model has now deviated so much, whether it could be due to intervention or due to effects of COVID in 2020 and 2021 into surveillance services and all that. But here the peak is March, and that peak also is now shifting towards the right side. And so these models have to be looked into very carefully, and they are now revisiting the data. So this is a long run exercise which is underway right now. And using this also modeling exercise, one could do the also stratification of the areas, all the blocks. You can see this is Bihar and this is part of Jharkhand. And you can see here there is a good correlation between both observed as well as predicted values, except some blocks here you can see some deviation as we move from 2013 to 2018. But broadly, it gives a picture of conformity between both these observed and predicted values. And similarly, if you see, but except for 2019, there is a wide deviation in 2021, and that is being, you can see here. Actually, VL is also being eliminated, and by 2020 we should have eliminated, but now it has been moved to 2030, and most likely the program is confident that VL elimination would take place in a couple of years. The definition of elimination is 1 case per 10,000 population. That is the threshold for VL. As far as malaria is concerned, we have carried out several studies, but in a nutshell, I would like to tell you that in Rameswaram Island, every second person used to suffer from malaria in the early 2000s. And again, Dr. Sabesan and the team, Dr. Sabesan and Dr. Jambulingam, former director, and other colleagues, they were entrusted with the, understanding the factors that were actually leading to such an hyperendemicity of malaria. And they very beautifully, they brought out information that it's due to population migration, population transition, and of course the vulnerability and high receptivity in the island that was leading to the malaria endemicity. And a program was suitably informed. And now we know that the Rameswaram Island is by and large free of malaria with the programmatic action, with the evidence given by the research that was carried out by VCRC. Then we carry out several studies, as far as malaria is concerned in our Koraput field station. Koraput field station is in Odisha. Odisha, as those who know malaria closely, is one of the worst affected traditionally state, which has done remarkably well, though, in the last 3 or 4 years with the introduction of LLANs in more than 1 crore. Government of Odisha has done great service now, and the results are obvious that malaria has come down. But our presence is here in Koraput, which is the southern district, and we cater to the 10 highly endemic districts of Odisha in the southern part of the state. And several studies have been carried out on vector biology and control, insecticide resistance studies. We are studying also mechanism of resistance, biochemical, molecular mechanism, and we have also started what is called intensity bioassays in addition to the normal tube bioassays as per WHO recommendations. And also the IRS new molecules that come for evaluation to us through WHO. HUPUS is no more there, but WHO PQ and earlier several candidates were sent to us by HUPUS, and also several brands of LLANs, international and national brands, come to us for evaluation, phase 2, phase 3 evaluation. And they are done very scientifically before they are introduced for the public health use in the national program. And we carry out vector behavior studies in relation to this mass saturation of nets, as to what happens to the vectors, whether they deviate or they change behavior. All sorts of studies are carried out on vector. And of course, we have one major project going on tracking of malaria elimination in Odisha, which is actually fast. The cases are now reducing, but we want to know as to whether it is due to the vector control interventions or due to surveillance and treatment and tracking of cases, or the individual based tracking and treatment and follow-ups, and also or combination of these two. And there is one program which Odisha has launched that is called Daman, wherein they also screen through mass surveys populations for detecting and treating asymptomatic malaria, which is very common in the tribal populations in these districts. And also we carry out studies on the primitive tribes like Bonda tribes, which is a very primitive tribe and very difficult to actually reach those areas. We have done studies recently. And of course, when we have this kind of the number of nets into millions, how to safely dispose them in the environment, that kind of studies also we have taken. I just wanted to give you a flavor of the studies which we do as regards malaria. Switching over to the Zika and the dengue surveillance, actually we were part of a national study which we actually steered in different states, 15 or 16 states, involving several institutes of ICMR. We coordinated that study when the Zika outbreak occurred in 2014 and in Brazil, and then of course became a very big issue in 2015 and 16 due to microcephaly that was seen. and WHO declared it as a global health emergency. So we carried out studies, and we found that only in Rajasthan, 3 pools of Aedes aegypti were positive for Zika. So it had a very restricted distribution. But this year, Zika outbreak has been, reported from Thiruvananthapuram, and VCRC was we were the first ones to enter there, because we have a Kottayam field station. And we immediately started entomological investigations and the factors, and we found that there was prolific breeding of Aedes mosquitoes going on in the wards of Thiruvananthapuram, where the Zika cases were being reported. And our team, Kottayam team, has isolated Zika virus from Aedes aegypti, Aedes albopictus, and Aedes vittatus. Incidentally, this is the first report of Zika virus being reported from anywhere in the world in Aedes vittatus. That is a new information, and these viruses were characterized and found to be of Asian African lineage. And we are continuing analyzing our pools of mosquitoes that we keep collecting every fortnight. And although cases have gone down there, but our vector surveillance is continuing, and we are doing molecular analysis, and also blood samples that we have taken from the patients are also being analyzed. But one interesting information that we got is that even the males of some species, Aedes vittatus and Aedes albopictus, were found to be positive for Zika virus, and males do not bite. Therefore, it is a confirmation of the fact that there is a transstadial transmission of Zika, transovarian transmission of Zika taking place, in these mosquitoes. That means the virus is passed on from the mother to the progeny, which is, of course, epidemiologically a very risky thing. Then let me give you some ideas about the World Mosquito Program. Actually, World Mosquito Program is spearheaded by Monash University, Professor Scott and group, and it is implemented in about 11 countries, including India. In India, we are the partners of Monash University, and here the Wolbachia based technology is being developed and tested for dengue control. Let me give you a snapshot of this particular Wolbachia, which is a very fascinating story. It was detected in 1924, and now we understand that Wolbachia is naturally present in about 60% of insects in the world, anywhere in the world. And in 1967, it was proposed, when the cytoplasmic incompatibility was observed, that we could control mosquitoes using this technique, which I'll be talking to you shortly. And then there was a success achieved by injecting Wolbachia into the Aedes aegypti successfully in the year 2005. And in 2009, the Wolbachia removed from the Drosophila melanogaster, which is now called W-mel, taking mel, first 3 letters of melanogaster, introduced into the vector, and that was successfully injected, and the eggs laid by this strain further had Wolbachia in it. So it stabilized itself into the Aedes aegypti, in which normally Wolbachia is not found in that part of the world in Australia. However, in India, we have found even the natural Indian strains of Aedes aegypti has Wolbachia. So we are studying which Wolbachia is this, whether it is effective or not. So then they started releasing these. They had a program to release in Cairns, Australia, where there was a dengue endemicity. And they incidentally, after introduction for 6 months, in subsequent years, there is more than 90% control of dengue in these areas wherever they were introduced. So this technology, therefore, is very promising, although it is under experimental stage. And what happens with this this is a double-edged sword, this technology, in the sense that if male has Wolbachia and the female mosquito doesn't have Wolbachia, this is a wild and this is a laboratory mosquito which has Wolbachia, if they mate, they produce sterile eggs, which cannot produce any progeny. So if you release male mosquitoes as they are doing in USA or in Singapore, you can actually, when these Wolbachia carrying male mosquitoes will mate with the wild females, it will lead to sterile progeny and the crash of those populations. Whereas if both female and male, they have Wolbachia, they will produce viable progeny. A female has Wolbachia, male doesn't have, even then the progeny will be viable, indicating that this Wolbachia is maternally inherited and passed on from mother to the offsprings. So that's the basis on which it works. Either you can crash the populations using this combination, or this can be propagated if you release the females or males with Wolbachia, and the females, particularly Wolbachia carrying females, they will be ultimately be producing stable populations. And this is how it will look like initially if the wild mosquitoes represented by black, which do not have Wolbachia, and you start releasing, gradually the Wolbachia carrying mosquitoes, over a period of time, these will saturate and replace the wild population. And then you will have all Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, that populations will have Wolbachia, and Wolbachia can block dengue virus replication and will naturally propagate and will lead to the dengue control. So this technology, we have developed this technology in our center. We have now local strains of Aedes aegypti. We call them as the Puducherry strain of WML, Puducherry strain with the W. alb, which W. alb comes from Albopictus. And these two strains we have developed from, and we also have the parent strains from Australia and a wild strain, which is propagated by us in our institute. And this is in experimental stage, as I mentioned, in advanced stage. And now we are studying virus challenge studies, which we are carrying out, and we are seeing whether they are able to block, these mosquitoes have the ability to block the DEN 1 to DEN 4 viruses in the laboratories. So maybe some other day we can share the data with you. National studies that we have launched recently are on Casanur forest disease and the scrub typhus as well, and of course island malaria elimination in RMRC with RMRC Port Blair and other institutes. And we are also focusing our attention onto the onto the KFD in the Eastern Theater. We know that Casanur forest disease, which is a vector-borne disease, is in Shimoga, started in Shimoga in Karnataka, then spread southwards towards Wayanad area of Kerala, and also towards Maharashtra in Dodamarg and Goa, Valpai area. All these areas have now started showing KFD cases and deaths in the humans, and we do not have any idea about KFD distribution in the Eastern Ghats that we have started working on. And we are also working on the tick population on the domestic animals, and also we're trying to know whether they are carriers of various Rickettsia strains or species. That study is also going on, just to give a flavor of that. And we also analyze risk factors that lead to these rickettsial diseases, particularly in Thiruvananthapuram. Our teams have found a focus in the tribal populations, and they have studied as to what are the practices and that actually lead to the hike of risk of scrub in these populations, and those recommendations are given to the state authorities. And this is just a short, just a brief story I will tell you about the Leishmania donovani, leishmaniasis that has been found in Kerala, again in the tribal populations primarily, and there are several pockets of VL and CL, both visceral leishmaniasis and cutaneous leishmaniasis by MON 37, a strain of Leishmania donovani, which is similar to what is found in Sri Lanka. And here the species is not Papatasi, but it is Phlebotomus argentipus, and there are other species that may be involved that we are studying now, like Sargentomaya and Barudi, and also then Sargentomaya and Babu. These two species may be involved in this transmission along with the Phlebotomus argentipus. Similarly, we create risk maps, the spatiotemporal maps for JE also in different months to just inform the policy. This is an India risk map of JE. We have very less time, so I'll just skip quickly now and move on to the products that VCRC has produced. We have produced a IGR, insect growth regulator, which actually affects the metamorphosis of the immature stages and do not allow adults to emerge. And our chemistry division, our Dr. Nisha Matthew has developed this, and this is now in the advanced stages of experimentation and maybe formulated into a product. This is a germ. This is an equipment which creates germ-free mosquitoes, and this is under patent now. This has been patent is granted to this to create gnotobiotic mosquitoes for experimentation, particularly on gut microbiota. So we have also developed different formulations of biopesticides, which are biolarvicides for mosquito control, several formulations, WDP, aqueous tablets, and floating, population slow release, and also the wettable powder. And I'm happy to inform you that we have transferred our technology of VCRC BTI B17 strain to 21 companies so far. And recently we have also tied up with Hindustan Insecticide Limited that used to produce DDT. DDT is now being phased out, and they have moved on to the safer technologies, and they have adopted our technology. They will be not only manufacturing, but they will also be exporting to different parts of the country, and the market is very big, 10,000 crore rupees market. So, and I'm happy to report that the same VCRC BTI B17 strain has been designated last month by CIB, Central Insecticide Board, as the Indian standard strain. And notification has been issued here, as you can see here, that VCRC produced strain has been designated, which means that any products will be compared with this strain, and because it is one of the world's best strain, equivalent to the best one present in the Pasteur Institute in France. And so it has 15,000 insecticide toxicity units. So one of the best strains. So other activities include testing of IRS and long-lasting insecticide, long-lasting nets, as I mentioned. And of course, several trials are being taken in the real-life situation here in Malkangiri. And now we are we are in the final phase of getting accreditation for our GLP facility. Once we become a GLP facility, of course, from all over the world, they will be getting the compounds, vector control compounds for testing here in the GLP lab. We are in the final phase of getting accreditation. Several visits have taken place of the experts, and that's a very proud moment for us. And these are our experimental huts, which we have created in the tribal heartlands for testing these long-lasting nets and all that with the help of volunteers. And just to help this evaluation, we also have to mandatorily have some net washing facility, a particular kind of structure, then the drying facilities, and also simulation trial that we do with the biologicides. And this is, a slide which shows that, we carry out faunistic studies of not only mosquitoes, but also the ticks and mites throughout the country. And this is our National Mosquito Museum, which has a large number of species. I'll just show you for a while. And we have recently started creating tick and mite museum, and all these will be national facilities to help whoever would like to identify the mosquito specimens with us. And we have, out of 410 known species in the country, 362 with us. About 88% of the total mosquito species in the country known are with us. And a number of mosquito specimens are large numbers.
Sorry to interrupt. I think, can you wind up in a minute or so?
Yes, I will do that. Thank you, sir. And we have this ACL3 facility now, which is, of course, very, very important for carrying out advanced research on vector competence studies. We provide diagnostic facilities in this unfortunate times to help the state of Pondicherry by testing COVID-19 samples. About 50,000 samples we have tested. And we have also Animal House in our institute, and we have a filariasis clinic, and we provide services to 800 and odd patients on day-to-day basis. This is our HRD department. We have MSc Public Health Entomology, which is a very unique course, not only in the country, but in the entire world. We have an intake of 20 students, and each student is given a stipend of 20,000 rupees per month in MSc, which is very, very unique, which has been hiked this month by the Director General of ICMR to make sure that public health entomology becomes a prominent discipline in the country. And this is recognized by Pondicherry University. And now ICMR has asked us to make it a national course. And Dr. Sabesan, who will be speaking to you shortly, is the course director. And 4 more institutes in different parts of the country are being involved for this public health entomology. So we have entered into MOUs with several, national and of course Georgetown University, USA, who send their students to us, and we interact with them, with these institutions, and our scientists work together. And these are the partners that we work with. Either they are our funding agencies or they are our collaborators with whom we work, both national as well as the international partners. And I'm really grateful to you for your patient hearing. Thank you very much, Chairman, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashwini. It was indeed a very comprehensive, and in fact, I'm sorry that I had to cut you short, because I don't think you can really summarize such a huge body of work in 25 minutes, or even for that matter, an hour or so. What is important is for all the practitioners of public health is that there's a lot of field. We need to understand there's a lot of field activity involved in this. Really, you have to wear out your boots, and then it is not only restricted to one area, but boundaries, geographical boundaries, or even administrative boundaries do not come into play because of vector-borne diseases. In fact, the KFD that spread across the Western Ghats because of the intervention. Infected, I believe, went into Goa because a bridge was constructed. So man-made interventions, they can spoil the ecology in such a way that the disease gets an upper hand. I think I really need to congratulate you on and your team on such an excellent work. I really don't have, first of all, don't have time for questions, but I don't think there are any questions on the chat box. Any comments from Dr. Pankaja? Thank you.
It's huge,
Dr.
impressive
Ashwini.
work. Yes.
Yeah, only one point. I may be carrying colds to Newcastle. I've been working with Dr. Sabesan. I think we have shared that with you. The maps which you showed as comparison over the years, we found that a map kit is available, which actually brings out the a statistical comparison between the two maps. So I thought I'll share with you. I probably already know it, but that classifies a map, two maps into those which are matching with those which are not matching, and therefore it is very useful to focus within a map, to focus on certain areas. My PhD candidate used it. I thought I'll share that information with you. Thank you very much. And now over to Dr.
Can I have one question? Can I have one question?
Part of this. Yeah, please do.
Yes, sir, I just like to know that you have mentioned that observed values and predicted values were matching over the years, but only in 2019 there was a mismatch. So what might be the possible reason, sir?
So we had an internal discussion and debate on this. We were expecting this to also match, but then in 2019 there was no COVID challenge. Our services were as normal as in other years. So our modelers then they said that we need to look into the because this was done in a week's time hurriedly because we had appraisal of this work. We are trying to figure out, we do not know at this moment what could be the factors, and therefore it will be premature to ascribe any reason to this deviation at this moment. So maybe if I have your email ID, and once this outcome is known, why this deviation has taken place, or there has been something wrong while computing, those things are being looked into. But I have just projected that there is a wide deviation which was not at all expected actually, but just to show you what we got after testing that model during training phase.
Thank you, sir. I am definitely interested in knowing it. I'll share my email ID. Thank you, sir. And your work definitely must be impacted because of COVID-19.
Yeah, that was because this is the data that we received from CAMIS platform of the national program. And when the lockdown was there, it was in 2020, it was an absolute lockdown. The country was locked down. So there was no surveillance or field activities at all that we can expect. But in 2021, the district, this was not an absolute lockdown. But it was imposed by the states, state after state, depending on the endemicity. So those all factors they are looking into, and this is very premature to. That's why I said that to ascribe any reason to why this has happened. It may be purely due to computational thing, or
Yes.
it may be due to some factors. Okay.
Right, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
I checked. There are no questions on the live stream also, so I think we can proceed with the. Proceed over to Dr. Pankaja to conduct the rest of the session.
Thank you, sir. So it's definitely my privilege to introduce such a senior speaker, Professor Sabesan. He is senior consultant in ICMR VCRC Puducherry, and he is confirmed with PhD degree by Annamalai University about 40 years back, and he has 40 years of research experience with over 120 publications. He is visiting faculty to foreign universities, and he's advisory committee member in different medical institutions, and he's expert member in UPSC as well. He is international consultant in vector-borne disease research group by Japan and Saudi Arabia. And his research interests are integrated vector management, epidemiology and control of vector-borne diseases, model forecasting, the risk of vector-borne diseases, transmission and human resource development. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to chair the session with Dr. Narayanan. Over to you, Professor Sabasan.
Thank you, madam. Please. Dear Chairman, Sir, Professor Narayan, Professor Pankaja, Organized Committee Chairman Dr. Gautam, Dr. Sonali, Dr. Sidanshu, Dr. Mahalakshmi, and all the Organized Committee members of the IPHA conference. Good afternoon to all of you. I shall be happy to share my experience on a very interesting a story on the community-based approach in the elimination of Brigin filariasis in Kerala as a case study. This Brigin filariasis is distributed in packets in several of the Southeast Asian countries. But a single largest belt is seen along the central coastal part of Kerala, spread over to about 1,800 square kilometers. And Cherthala in Kerala, in Alappuzha district, has been considered a hotbed of this disease. It's a common scene to see a large number of freshwater bodies in the form of domestic ponds, canals, and channels infested with floating hydrophytes, namely the Pistia, Salvinia, and the Ichornia. The vector mosquito, Mansonia mosquito, breeds in close association with these floating vegetations. The immature stages of the Mansonia mosquito attached to the roots and rootlets of these floating vegetations and taking oxygen. But to control this mosquito, we cannot use either herbicide or insecticide because that will pollute the water bodies. And these hydrophytes are also used as a green manure for the plantations and coconuts. You can see a large number of patients with different grades of lymphedema, including elephantiasis in this area. The patients have formed an association, Filariasis Patients Association. This gentleman, Mr. Benjamin, was the president of this association. By profession, he was a headmaster. He himself was a victim of this disease. He contested for parliament election, not to win the election, but to attract the attention of the bureaucrats and politicians. This actually worked well because the Prime Minister of India asked the Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, to make a dent in the control of this disease from this part of, in this part of the country. The Vector Control Research Center launched the control program in a mission mode. And I was appointed as officer in charge of this mission project. We have first started our station with a clinic, and you can see a glance of this OPD with these are all natural, not ask them to sit and take on the snaps. It is very common to see almost every week in our clinic. You can see the plight of a girl engaged in tailoring, and the loss of productivity was so much, and the young girls remain unmarried because of this disease, and there was a stigma attached to this disease, and it was so severe next only to the leprosy. Even school-going children, girls and boys, were the victims of this disease, and they were nicknamed after this disease in local vernacular. Therefore, we have started an intensive health education campaign starting from the schools in collaboration with the education department. The students have made a vigorous public information campaign, and in almost all the schools and colleges in this part of the Kerala, students' filariasis control clubs have been formed. Hoardings have been erected in all vantage points, and the health education messages were imparted through the social and cultural events cutting across all the religion. And there are about 110 voluntary organizations, each with more than 100 volunteers. They have all been motivated to come under one umbrella, that is filariasis control movement. It's a people's movement, and in short, it was called a Philco movement in Chertala. Both the community volunteers, Philco volunteers, and the student volunteers engaged during the weekend for mass clearance of these hydrophytes from the water bodies. And the British Broadcasting Corporation came to know, and they have visited this area and filmed this Shamadan movement by the people. And this was followed by the WHO delegates from Geneva visited this area. Then worldwide television news has shown this almost at the global level. And the water weeds, the hydrophytes were removed in a massive way. Once it was removed, then the plants were very clean and fit for fish culture. Therefore, we have mounted this inland fish culture using the composite fish carp varieties with the help of the fisheries department, and the NABARD bankers and other local bankers came forward to give financial support in the form of loan to all the beneficiaries. So it was become a income generating scheme. After the removal of hydrophytes, because the hydrophytes have been used as a green manure, the weeds, now we have advocated the removal of hydrophytes. Then where they will go for the green manure source. Therefore, from Tamil Nadu, we have introduced a plant called the Sanham. That is, Sanham seeds were taken from the Tamil Nadu to the Kerala. It's a leguminous plants, and it was used as an alternative green manure source, and with the support of Agriculture Department. So in this process, we were able to reposition the vector control program, and it was conducted. The program was conducted in collaboration with the local departments, and the technology was transferred to the target community and also to the departments like Fisheries Department, Agriculture Department, Health, Education, all these, including the bankers. So in a nutshell, the people's movement was created, and the program was linked to the overall developmental activities of the state, including income generating schemes. And vector control was derived as a byproduct without using any insecticides. That's a vector part. Then our clinic has made an excellent, the morbidity management. As a result, hundreds of youngsters, like you can see the recent edema cases, we were able to get them cured completely, and people got married subsequently. And based on this story, we have produced a short film, and that was screened almost every nook and corner of this endemic area. That created a lot of impact. And interestingly, the Philco movement, they were able to make scientific projects with the technical support of PCRC, and they were able to get fund from the Science and Technology Department. They were able to make more than 100 filariasis detection treatment centers in all the villages. And they were able to screen more than 100,000 slides screened. And all the positive cases have been given treatment with the help of PCRC medical doctors. In the high risk areas, for the first time, we introduced the anti-filarial drugs distribution through these trained volunteers at their doorsteps. And this master administration program later became an intervention strategy advocated by the WHO, subsequently in all the endemic areas globally. So initially, we have started with the aim of controlling this disease, but at the end of the project, we were able to eliminate this disease. And subsequently, the national program monitored this area. You can see how much the microfilaria rate. And during 2016 and 17, this area was evaluated using the WHO prescribed method that is called a transmission assessment survey, TAS, and this area was declared eliminated from filariasis. The Honorable Prime Minister of India commended this project as a model for community-based approach for communicable diseases in our country. Thank you. Because of short of time, I have rushed. If there is any question, I shall be happy to share with you. Bye.
Thank you, sir, for that crisp presentation, but it's a lot of work. We can see the impact very, very clearly. Like it's like kind of a story that they have economic and social impact because of filariasis. Girls are not getting married, and then you have that happy wedding concept. Really, really impressive, sir. So,
thank you so much.
Sir, I don't have any question, but I want to know from you that if I recommend that postgraduate students from public health come and visit your institution, there will be a lot of learning by our students.
Oh, yes,
because the kind of community work you people are doing, it's tremendous work.
Thank you so much.
Very true, madam. It's really a learning ground. We have a posting with them. I don't know, Mahalakshmi, we can say whether the postgraduates still go to ECRC. From JIPMA, we used to send them. Even from Mahatma Gandhi, we used to send to VCRC. There's a lot of learning, especially field activities. It's really an eye-opener as to how field activities have to be conducted.
Just to know, I would definitely like to know, sir, because we also work in field, what challenges you had while carrying out this work?
A lot of challenges, madam, because it was culturally, they have been used to this kind of thing for decades. The culprit of this mosquito breeding in association with the water vegetations. Even the educated folk did not know that was responsible for the vector breeding. So for all the mosquitoes, just water stagnation is enough. But for this particular type of mosquito, water weeds are required. Floating hydrophytes. Floating hydrophytes are having a unique characteristic feature. In the roots and rootlets, there will be air sacs will be there. So that helps them to float in the water. And these mosquito immatures, larvae and pupae, they have got a mechanism to pierce into the air sacs and take oxygen. Wow. And without these hydrophytes, the immatures cannot thrive. That is just like a fish out of water. So there is a close association. We have to take a lot of challenges to convince the people, and because removal of hydrophytes is not acceptable to the people. They were using this as a green manure. Yes. So we had to find an alternative green as a source for green manure. And the water, they were telling it was closed, the water body is closed to the hydrophytes, and they thought that they are protecting the water from this thing, evaporation. But we had to demonstrate that trans evaporation will be much higher than the open surface. If they have hydrophytes, then the evaporation will be much higher. That they were not, it was not known to them. We have live demonstration was done during this company. And fish culture, because we were using only fish fingerlings at the earlier stage. Then within a few months, it becomes very large. But initially they did not accept. Then we have shown demonstration, then they got convinced there was a demand for the fish. So for each thing, we have taken a lot of, we had to, it was a real challenge for each and every step. And we had to demonstrate, then we were able to convince the people. Once convinced, they were started demanding. So
that is where we can see the impact.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Great, thank you, sir.
What Dr. Sabesin did not tell us that it's a culturally completely different area. He said,
yeah, yes,
it's different, but it's even ecologically is completely different. Oh, yes. It's known as that area is the Venice of the East. In fact, you only look at the boat houses, but the entire livelihood is dependent on water. There are, in fact, on the Pampa River, we know only Pampa River as part of Sabrimala, but then there are school buses, school boats, post office is running by boat. So that is the type of life which is there. There's no cars there. And the map he showed Kuttanad Lake. That's a very peculiar lake. I did not know that till I went there. That actually it is half fresh water and half salt water. So I think there were several, and the size of the lake is so huge. It's almost like a district. Yeah. And clearing the hydrophytes from such a large area would have really been a challenge. And with the people's movement, what he showed the pictures were smaller water bodies, but the big one was the real challenge. I think really Dr. Sabesin and his team was really, they have done some excellent work. I have just one more question. Yes. Dr. Sabesin, you said you introduced some other variety of plant for this, what is called that, manure, green water manure. When you introduced these, they were water weeds? No. For green manure,
the water floating hydrophytes were the weeds removed. And actually, they have to employ people to remove the hydrophytes from the pond and take it to the trees bottom. Whereas here, yes, we got the Erode Salem area in Tamil Nadu. This Sunham is available. Okay. Sunham plants. They have got nitrogen-rich nodules will be there. There are leguminous plant, and the seeds can be just sown under the tree straight away. We can pour some water. Within weeks, it will become profuse. Lot of green, and NPK value is very high for the Sunham seeds. Sunham plants. Whereas for the hydrophytes, 95% 5 to 98% of water. The NPK value is negligible. That also we have demonstrated.
My question was whether introducing a novel, we introduce a novel plant in another area, whether that has its own environmental implications.
In fact, because of time, I was not told. In all these programs, the education minister, health minister, then fisheries minister, we invited the agriculture ministers in our program. Okay. So they have acceptability was very high, and the people, the department people were very cooperative, and they saw to it that it is working.
Thank you. I think we have run out.
Thank you so much.
Over short time, so we'll have to wind up. And it was really an excellent eye opener on what a field-based activities for what I said was now being called as almost extinct. These are not extinct, but they are almost getting forgotten tropical diseases. I hope we do not forget the focus on that is required on these diseases. Very obvious from the data which Dr. Ashwini and Dr. Sabeshan shared that it is not going to go away. Therefore, it is a problem which continues across the country, and we really have to be sharp in looking at them. So, and I would like to thank the organizers, Dr. Gautam Roy, Dr. Kar, and Dr. Mahalakshmi for giving us this opportunity and for a very fruitful discussion. Dr. Pankaja for some closing remarks, please.
Thank you, organizers, for having this wonderful session. And both the speakers were really fantastic. The work done was overwhelming. And I think there is a strong message from this session. And now we can see that there is a vision that some of the vector-borne diseases can be eliminated from our country, because generation together as medical students, each one of us were having long questions on vector-borne diseases. So hopefully, hopefully no longer we will be having a long question now.
And go to short answer
Thank
questions.
you. Yes.
You're most
We
welcome
hope
to
it
visit
become neglected and
VCRC.
has become forgotten.
Yes. So through you, I want to convey that whoever wishes to visit VCRC from whichever part of the country, they are most welcome to visit us and have discussion with us. Maybe for a few days you can be here, and we will expose you to all that we have done with patients, because as rightly said by Chairperson Sir, that within 1 hour we cannot capture everything. This was a snapshot of what we have done. There's a lot to share with the medical students.
I think it's a must for postgraduates. A visit to VCRC is a must for postgraduates.
Yes. It should come
They
in the
have a
curriculum.
program. Yes. So
Thank you,
yes,
sir.
so Dr. Mahalakshmi
Yes,
for
sir.
closing the session.
Yes.
Yes.
I thank the speakers, Dr. Ashwani Kumar and Dr. Sabesan, for their wonderful talk. And it's not only for postgraduates, even for undergraduates. It's a very inspiring site to visit. So it's just an inspiration flows in as soon as we enter the campus. Thank you, sir. And sir, they readily agreed as soon as an invite was given, and everything was smoothly worked out for the conference preparation. Not only for the conference preparation, even for the other things. Thank you, sir. And I thank my teacher, Dr. K. Narayanan, for chairing this session and conducting very well. And I also thank Dr. Pankaja Raghav, whose curiosity was seen very well in this session. Thank you all. Have a good day. We'll be switching over to the next session, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.